Tuesday, April the 13th, 2023, and I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please bow your heads for invocation by Councilman Marr?
Lord Creator, we ask you to come down and watch and give us inspiration and knowledge of your wisdom on how to best use the brains and gifts God gave us to best serve your people. Lord, we ask you to help all of those who are in need tonight, all those who are suffering from health, from mental problems, from starvation. And we ask you to gather us all together in your love, Lord, so that we can spread it to the world. In your name, amen.
Amen. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
DePrio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley. Here. Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
I am going to move to amend the agenda. Under action agenda, add item 21A, a motion to authorize emergency repairs to McKeekee Drive Drainage Project for water line erosion control and debris removal pursuant to Mississippi Code 31713J, and further to award a quote to the repairs to bottom to top in the amount of $22,584.60. And amend action agenda item number 21 to now read a motion to award the low quote received from Pine Belt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram for the purchase of 2 new police pursuant vehicles in the amount of $34,717 each, for a total purchase amount of $69,434. And to delete item number 23, motion to approve docket of claims to be determined for the Department of Revenue for the dog park day sales tax. Could I get a second to move as amended? Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on May 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers located at City Hall. Wolfstock will be held, it rained out last weekend, so Wolfstock will be held April the 22nd, this coming Saturday, from 12 to 4:30 on the south side. So bring all your fur babies out. Father Patty will be there at 1:30 for blessing of the animals, and we have a whole day filled with fun activities. Proclamation. So would you gentlemen please come forward? Yes. Would you all like to say a little bit about your tribe first?
Talk about your tribe. I would, yeah.
Yes, please, you can.
We are now called the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw, but for many, many years we were just a group of people that was hiding in the swamps and hiding in the rivers and trying to survive. But as we were encroached upon, we were found out to be good laborers and good workers, so they used our tribe for a lot of the menial labor and the least jobs they could, because our people had no education at all. Until 1918, we founded a school in Van Cleve Live Oak Pond School, and it was for Creole Indian people to go there. And but it didn't get any better, because you could only get an 8th grade education, and then you could only get the 8th grade education, and then the things that were taught were probably not giving you a great education in the first place. And then from 1918 to almost around 1968 or so, when integration started, and all the schools had to come together. It was the only time that our people were able to get a 12th grade education and go to the regular schools like everyone else. And and go to the college. And our older folks, a lot of them are very far behind. A lot of them still cannot read. A lot of them cannot, they're not educated at all, and not all good people, but they're just illiterate. And our people, we have a documented history all the way back to when Bienville and D'Iberville came in, 1699. That's when they made contact with the Choctaw Indians at one time. When they came in, that was where our people, we started a history at that time. The French kept up with history, and down through the French, the English, the Spanish, and in the United States, we have a history all the way back from there down to now. And then, like you said, in the original proclamation, which we appreciate very much, was given to us at an earlier date. It tells about how far our history goes back and where we are now today. So we have a rich history, but we are now a 501c3, and we are a state recognized tribe. We've been recognized by the House of Representatives up in Jackson. We've been recognized by the court in Jackson County, Mississippi, and we've been recognized by every state by every city and county on the coast and in the 3 counties above right here. So, and like I say, we have a rich history, which was everything that is in it is documented. Nothing is put in that Grandma said, or Grandpa said, I heard this, I heard that. If it's not documented or cannot be proven, we didn't, we might mention some of it because some of it is good reading and good stuff, but you have to be documented for it to be in our history book. And I wish to give you one tonight too, so it's got a lot of rich history in it. So,
Well, thank you.
and you can share it with the
Thank
council
you.
there.
Okay, well, I'll share it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And by the
And
way,
thank you all for being
I
here
am Terry
tonight.
Ladner. I am the council leader of the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw. We have a constitution, bylaws, and we have a government which is run by the council, and it's been approved by the courts and stuff. So.
And my name's Roland Thunder, and I'm the certified park keeper for the Live Oak, Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw. And I want to say something to this panel up here. Y'all got a wonderful mayor sitting back there. She is really doing well with this farmers market. I hear people, all the vendors around saying how good she is. She puts her whole heart out there. I just want y'all to know that. So,
Well, thank
I
you.
appreciate you doing
We're having the best time out there at the farmer's market. Thank you. So I'm going to read you all a proclamation.
Yes, ma'am.
Proclamation for the Van Cleve Oak Choctaw Tribe. Whereas the Mississippi Gulf Coast and central Mississippi was inhabited by the group of speaking Choctaw and other indigenous peoples long before the French under Bienville came to the area known as the present-day Ocean Springs. And whereas the latter settled in and around the Van Cleve area and came to be called the Van Cleve Indians. They maintained their tribal integrity strongly, encouraging marriage and fellow tribal families and founding several churches in the area, 2 of which still stand today. They built 2 cemeteries, Van Cleve Holiness Cemetery and Ballou Cemetery, where they still lay members of their tribe to rest. And whereas the Van Cleve Indian tribe was incorporated as the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw Corporation in 2013, a Mississippi nonprofit corporation. However, this corporation was slewed by a splinter group, Live Oak Indian PESEMS Inc., and was seeking judicial clarification as to which group had the right to file to obtain federal recognition for the tribe within the Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs. The resolution of suit dissolved both corporations and formed a merger. Now, Mississippi Nonprofit Corporation, the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw, which was organized by the Chancery Court in Jackson County, Mississippi in 2015. Whereas we recognize and honor the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw and the geographical area and the history it has written in our state. We acknowledge their identity as a Native American tribe, distinct from other tribes and unique in its own heritage and history. We, along with the state of Mississippi, offer our best wishes for the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaws for federal recognition. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, this the 18th day of April, 2023, the City Council of Diamond Head do hereby commend and congratulate the Van Cleve Live Oak Choctaw Tribe for their start of recognition as a Native American tribe and offer most sincere wishes as they continue to pursue a federal designation by the Bureau of Indian Affairs and for all future endeavors pursued by this tribe. Thank you very much. And would you all like to come up and let us present this to you all up here? Okay, come up. Could I ask the senator and the senator and representative? Okay. Y'all want to get in here? Jay?
Gotta have my brother there with me.
Okay.
Okay, stay there. Yeah, stay there, stay there. Got it, thank you.
Thank you again for coming tonight. Next on the presentation agenda, we have the legislative update with Senator Philip Moran and Representative Jay McKnight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank y'all very much. It's an honor for Jay and I to be here with you all. I guess I got to start off saying it was a good session. It lasted a long time that last night. We Friday 2 weeks ago, they told us when we went in, said we'll finish up today. Then as the day progressed, we'll finish up this evening. At 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, we finally finished. But as we always do, we left from there with a balanced budget. And that means a lot. You know, when you see states like California, $30-40 billion in debt, we're in the black. We leave them there with a balanced budget and taking care of many different things. You know, in the past 2 years, we've had over $500 million in tax cuts, the largest tax cuts in the state's history. We've had the largest teacher pay raise in history. We did $100 million for the school districts this year. You know, we did the teacher pay raise last year. So this year, the school districts will share in that if they need to repair classrooms, buy new computers, buy new buses and so forth. So that money will go for that.
It can't be used for administrative side.
No administrative salaries whatsoever. It's just for building. You know, in some of the schools, we're very fortunate here on the coast. I'm telling you, when you visit some of the schools in the Delta and some of the schools in North Mississippi, we're very fortunate here. But anyway, this we did about $100 million for the rural hospitals. You know, you hear all the time the rural hospitals are in trouble, and they are. And we're trying to help with that as much as possible. The big thing that folks in Diamond Head, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but per capita, Diamond Head has the second largest retired veterans group in the United States, only behind Arlington per capita. So there's a lot of retired veterans here. And we passed a bill that says that if you have a 70% service-related disability, you get to purchase 2 tags for $1 each. So that certainly helps them. The big thing that we want to talk about is that in the last 4 years, Jay and I, working with our other delegation, our county delegation, Brent Anderson and Timmy Ladner, we've been able to bring home about $90 million to Hancock County. That is unprecedented. It has never happened before. This year alone, about $30 million. And that has never happened in a one-year term before. And it takes cooperation. It takes teamwork on both ends. You know, Jay specializes in helping things, and Brent does, and I help on the other end. And together, as a team, we make it happen. But the big news is tonight, when we came here, you know, we come in the fall and ask you what's your wish list. We come back in the spring and we tell you, okay, this is what we're able to get. Well, the mayor's never bashful about asking for things, so as we all
I'm not
know,
bashful.
she gave us a very tall order, and you all did too as a city council. You asked for a total of 4 different projects, $4.4 million. And we were kind of scratching our head a little bit thinking, Lord, how are we going to do that? Well, I'm here to tell you, we got you $4.4 million, everything you asked for. And, you know, and it takes a teamwork to do that. One of the things that I would ask you, and I mentioned it to you all, engineers back there, please try to spend that money this year, okay? And the reason I say that, if we go back next year and we say, hey, we need another couple $1 million, $2 or $3 million for Diamond Head, and they look at it and say, well, you didn't spend the last money we gave. It gets a little tough to keep coming back to that well when you don't spend it. So please, I know it doesn't happen overnight. I know engineering takes a while. It takes a while to do it. But get your projects going, get them moving. Let's get this money spending. It makes mine and his job easier. Jay, you want?
The mayor knows I have been aggravating her about that as well.
Yes,
and we
you
want to move
have.
forward. The
And
only
I've
other
been
thing I can
aggravating
think of
them,
that,
so I pass it down.
yeah, we put about $640 million out of that $7.6 billion budget in the infrastructure. That's up from $230 million from the year before. So
Wow.
that's going to help all over the state of Mississippi and municipalities all over. And Diamond Head will certainly benefit from that as well. I don't know.
Real quick, I know you all see the stakes out in the center lane between here and Long Beach. You see the little stakes. MDOT is getting ready. We funded that. It's around close to $70 million to 6-lane it from Long Beach to Diamond Head, which will be a big help. So if you get on the Diamond Head side, you want to go to Biloxi, you have 6-lane all the way. And of course, it's going to take we also put in an extra $15 million, I think it was last year, for the Minge exit. Everybody knows what's coming to Minge? Buc-ee's, all
we
right.
do.
So anyway, for those of you that have been to Alabama, you remember when they first opened up, it was a nightmare. It was 2-lane in and out, and it was a nightmare. So they realize now they have to have the infrastructure. So it's going 4-lane overpass and double the lanes coming in and going out to be able to handle those thousands of cars that come in and out of Buc-ee's every day. So, but we're excited about that. And of course, you know, the roundabouts are coming.
Right?
Diamond Head is transforming tremendously. And Jay and I are going to continue to work the very best we can. Just wanted to quickly mention, all of us, he and I and Brent and all of us, we have opponents this year. So we're asking you to help us to be able to come back as your team in Jackson. And that means so much because when we come back in Jackson in January, Jay and Brent are both going to be chairmen in the House. That gives us even more clout to be able to get things and get it done and bring more money back to you and for the citizens of Diamond Head. So we're humbly asking tonight, we need your help in August, and then we'll be back in the fall to ask you for your wish list. so that we can go to Jackson and get you some more money.
I just want to say, well, first, we can clap because this is awesome. This is so good. I just want to say that not many cities along the coast got everything they asked for, like probably 2 cities. And these representatives, because of their hard work and their position in the House and the Senate, and seniority means a lot, it means a lot, they were able to bring back Diamond Head the most funding we have ever received in 1 year, and we are very thankful. And thank you for fulfilling the entire wish list. That's unheard of, and you have spoiled us. So next year it's going to get bigger. Yes. But thank you both. That was
Yeah.
tremendous work.
And I just want to say thank you to all of you for helping out as well, and the staff and John and everybody who helps. And also want to mention Trey Bobinger, who is a great
Definitely.
liaison between us and y'all, and the Board of Supervisors who do a tremendous job. Specifically, Bo and Cody, who also represent parts of Diamond Head, who we talk to regularly, and Scotty, who in his role as president of the board. And those guys, they're all helpful. And so we appreciate all y'all, because we know things move at a snail's pace often in government, and then all of a sudden it takes off. And when that happens, we need you, and that's when y'all step up, and we appreciate you.
And thank you. And Trey Bobinger did send a text saying, he could not make it tonight. He wanted the residents of Diamond Head to know that he was not able to attend. He will be here at the May 2nd meeting, and he will give us an update as well. And I know he was instrumental in helping you both as well.
Yeah, and I know you hear Jay and I say this quite often. Every year we say this to you, but I'm telling you, when we come out of our chamber and we come down the hallway, there's Trey. Hey, man, what we working on? Right?
Yeah.
What we got to do?
Yeah.
Diamond Head's got a big request, but he never lets us forget that.
That's right.
Trust me, he's worth every dime you pay him, and he helps us look out for things that could potentially be a problem. And he does a great job, and he's just part of our team. So thank y'all for hiring him to work with us, and we look forward to coming back in the fall and get your wish list for next year.
We'll be
Yes.
working on it. Thank you both very,
Thank
very
y'all.
much. Thank you. And next, we're going to move to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick tonight, Bayou Drive Kayak Launch, I contacted the engineer. He is trying to get the contractor back out on site to complete the punch list items that are still out there. The main thing that the engineer is concerned about, as well as I am, is there are some screws on some of those poles, and we don't want anyone to get hurt on that. So he really doesn't want to open it up until they get out there and get that situation taken care of. Lily Pond and the I-10 pond, as you guys can tell, and if you drive by there, contractor's nearly complete on dredging the Lily Pond completely. They have started clearing and are just about done with most of the clearing around the I-10 pond, where they'll have to get access on the south side, as well as where their spoils areas are going to go. They have silt fencing installed all around there to keep all that dredge material from going back into the pond. But they'll finish up probably in the next week to 2 weeks on the Lily Pond, and then get started dredging over on the I-10 pond. Current date for finishing that contract is July 17th. So they've got plenty of time, and they're doing a great job with it. Part 10 Road, the city is finalizing some easements that they need, as well as getting MDEQ permits. Once all that is in order, then the engineer is going to advertise that project, and we can get that started, which will be a great thing to have us moving forward on. Phase 4 paving, you guys have a change order again for on your agenda for tonight to approve. That will move the current ending date of that project to June 30th. They are still currently demobilized while Water and Sewer finishes up on the Bayou Drive project that they're working on. And then we have on your agenda also putting in a culvert and some inlets, I think, or to help water up in the Bayou Circle, Bayou Drive area to go under the road instead of going across the road, which will be better for safety for our drivers and residents. The Diamond Head Drive, which is the bond paving of the entire circle, engineering firm received comments back from the city engineer regarding 50% drawings. Got some comments back from him actually this morning, and so we're scheduling a meeting so everybody can discuss the drawings and make sure everybody's on the same page. Code enforcement. Since so far we've been unable to find somebody to fill the position completely, I got in touch with AJ, our police chief downstairs, and we've to ascertain if any of our current officers would like to work as code enforcement during their time off. He already has 3 that are interested. I'll be meeting with those probably this week and see if we can't get that worked out so we can have somebody out there doing some code enforcement for us. Planning and Zoning Day, that was 2 weeks ago, or on a Thursday, was a great event, and I would actually like to ask if Pat Rich would come up and kind of give us an update about that.
John asked me to try to trim this down to 30 minutes, so I managed to do that. Just joking. We had this planning commission training, and we weren't even aware that there was such a thing. I thought planning commission trainings, I get the new planning commissioners together and I give them what little knowledge I have. Councilmember Lisi informed us of this through her contacts with the city of Oxford. Ben Raquette this is put on by the Mississippi chapter of the American Planning Association. And Ben, who is the city planner for Oxford, came down with some members of his staff of the Planning Commission, Mississippi chapter of it, and came down and put this on. And it was excellent training. We had great attendance, I think. We had 3 of our commissioners. Now, remember, commissioners are a non-paid position. They have real jobs. And not all of them were able to get off, but we did have 3 attend. Christy Nico, Sue Lale, and Linda Bro came to attend. We also had Council Member Marr that came and attended, which we appreciated there. And then we had several of the city staff here, the city manager, our city attorney, planning zoning commissioner attorney, the building official, Bo, the building inspector, and so on and so forth. It was really good training. It kind of tied everything together as far as what their responsibilities are. We even had chairman of the ethics committee, Tim Hood, director of the ethics. Anyway, he gave us a session on ethics, which is something you don't normally get as a planning commissioner. So it was really good training. It set us in the right direction, kind of tied together the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinances, the building codes, and tied that together and presented that in layman's terms to because not everybody is a city planner. I'm not a city planner, so it was very, very interesting. The best takeaway from me was that all cities have common problems. We're not the only ones here fighting the problems that we're fighting. The cities everywhere had this. We had attendance from Hattiesburg, Gulfport, Harrison County, Pass Christian, Bay St. Louis, and they're all and Oxford, and they're all encountering the same problems. So it was good to kind of bring these out in the discussion phase, talk about the problems, what solutions they have, and then probably more important to me than anything is the networking portion of being able to network with the members here in other cities that are all part of this, so I can reach out and talk to them. So that was kind of it. Any questions? Okay. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Council Member Lisi, for putting it together for us.
I just wanted to thank you and thank John, the city employees who attended. Thanks for being so supportive of it. And I'm glad you guys helped. I learned a ton. So.
I think we all did. It was well worth the effort. Thank you very much.
All right, now moving right along. Oh, you're not finished?
I'm not quite finished. 2 more things.
Okay, we're gonna be here late tonight, people.
I want to thank Councilmember Lisi as well for organizing that, and it was a very good planning day session. McKeekee Drive, I just wanted to give a quick update, and I would like the city attorney to provide that. I don't believe there's much of one.
I forgot you were turning that over to me. So you'll see, council, we do have an agenda item for you guys to approve today, an emergency work order to go ahead and get that water line reconnected. Water and Sewer has requested that's urgent. That's something that should not have been shut down for as long as it has been. So we want to get that opened. We want to get some erosion control once we get the water line in, and we want to get that huge debris pile, which is not only unsightly, but it's a hazard. It's an attractive nuisance, and it's also a pest attraction. So we want to get that out of there. We are still working with the bond company. They're still doing their review. We are going to update them tomorrow. Melissa will be calling them, talking to their attorney, updating them on where we're at, and updating them on, and asking them really where they're at. You know, obviously it's going to take some time to flush out the legal side, but the city is going to move forward. And this will be just get us one step closer to getting this thing road back open, getting this thing completed. So we've got still a bunch of different items we've got to address, but this will get one of those. This is an emergency, and this will get us past that. So that's why we're making the recommendation. This is not an amount that's over $75,000, so it would normally be in John's purview as a city manager to award, get quotes and award this. But because of the nature of it, where we've gotten, how we've gotten here, the fact that this project at one time was over $100,000, we're requesting this additional protection to have y'all go ahead and make, you guys will be making a finding that this is an emergency based on what John's got in his letter and what you guys know about the facts. And so that's why we need y'all today.
So on this, I did receive a phone call about this being still utilized. So we do have barricades up, so we've got kids that are running through it, riding their bikes. So we need to try to do something to mark it even more than we have, and I know it's marked, but this is as of yesterday. I got a call about that, so I was going to mention that tonight.
Yeah, one of the things is we get this water line in, we want to be able to kind of get this leveled out a little bit so that and get some of that debris out so there's not jagged material just sitting out there, and it's not as much of a trip hazard. So again, I believe, in my estimation, this is the definition of an emergency. We've got to get moving. We can't just wait around for the bond company to make a decision. So for that reason, and you're right, Public Works does periodically go out there, check the barricades, but we know kids are going to get around barricades, so we're looking at it.
Okay. Any question? Was that all you had? Okay. Sorry, no question, Jeff.
That's okay.
Hold on a minute.
That's all right. Last thing is, I would like our city engineer, Ben Benuti, to provide you guys with an update regarding the current drainage projects that we have in the city. So, if he would, where's he at?
So this is a drainage update? I thought this was hey, we're going to fix your request, Mayor. This is a drainage update? That's good, too. We like that. Okay.
Can you start it for me, please?
Yeah, go to slideshow at the very top.
Did y'all add in the $2 million we just got for Go Mesa?
So it's perfect timing, right?
Yes, because we just got $2 million for
for
Comey, Aloha, and
That's right.
yes, those three that we had on there.
So that's exciting. A good segue is I want to say we'll hit the ground running, but we've already been running. The administration's been
Yes.
pushing hard. Identifying drainage issues over time. Lack of funding has been an issue, but also so it sounds like the funding is getting in place, and we just want to give you kind of an update of where we've been in the last 2 years. So these are essentially previous steps that were taken. This was before the 21 update. This is the action plan that was presented to you back in 2021. So hydraulic analysis, just an update on that. Basin A and C have been completed. 13 projects have been identified that you'll see here in a minute. Stormwater management, the city has updated stormwater requirements in the subdivision ordinance to include 100-year storm events. Floodplain management, you've got Rostan working on your National Flood Insurance Program's community rating system, land use planning. Orion has been engaged by the city to update codes, and also Paradise Bayou, right? You've acquired Paradise Bayou and you've started those steps to remove sedimentation in Paradise Bayou. Public Works, the city's augmented staff. Another thing that the administration is looking at is issuing a unit price contract with a contractor to allow them to augment city staff in the event that something comes up, similar to a McKeekee. And then identify and prioritize drainage projects. We're going to spend a lot of time on that. Obviously, the Wagner report was done, Watershed A's been done, and then based on working, Mayor, with you and other council members, is identifying just drainage issues that have been coming up in the city over time. So again, these are steps taken, and I think I hit on a lot of these, so I won't read each one of them. You know, one thing you did is you hired a city engineer that we're working with the building department, and we're the single point of review with the building department and administration on any subdivision projects. So we're no longer sending that out to multiple firms and getting multiple opinions. Another thing that's not on here, but I'd like to note as well, is we're looking at ponds along the golf course, trying to determine how we can maximize capacity, either through expansion, lowering the water surface elevation, or even removing sediment. So quickly, we'll talk about projects. These are $1.1 million in completed drainage projects. So these are your projects that are ongoing, right at about 3.9 million and approximately 3.9.
Can I make a note? The last three that are on there
Yes.
are the three that we just got the 2 million from the representatives from this legislative session.
That's exactly right.
08, 13, and
308, 313, and 315. So you can see all of the other ones are in progress. The first three are under construction, the next three are under design, and then the next three will, as soon as this money's available, I mean, we can move into design within the next, I'd say 30 days. And then these are the ARPA projects. Again, it's about $4 million in ARPA projects that the city has applied for. And I know this session, this came up, and we are waiting to hear back, hopefully some good news that all these projects are funded. So very, very quickly, we could have another $4 million in stormwater projects ready to go. And then finally, you've got another 7.6 in proposed drainage projects. Cutoff Bayou or Paradise Bayou is one of them. I know that design is already ongoing. That's to remove the sediment in Paradise Bayou. The city's working with MDEQ for grants on that. And then bank stabilization is matching county funds with city funds to address bank stabilization in the Comey area.
now we did present that to the Board of Supervisors, so they know our project.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Ben, the 4 million on ARPA, that's what we're using to match the 2 million that we've asked from the county. Is that correct? Or is it the Go
Well,
Mesa?
we also have the
it's
Go
the
Mesa.
Go Mesa, that's what I meant.
That 2 million in Go Mesa is within that same drainage area as the bank stabilization. So that's all in Watershed A, working on Comey Drive, working in that area. and
Fairway
it'll-
Drive and Anahula.
Yep, and it'll tie into that bank stabilization. So that's the matching dollars there, the 2 million in Go Mesa to their 2 million in Go Mesa.
All right, so we do have 2 million to match the county's 2 million.
That's my understanding.
That's correct. That is correct.
Because we got 2 million, and then we received the 2 million match. That's 4 million. We had the 2 million all along, but the Board of Supervisors has our request for the 2 million on the project, because I think there was discussion Monday saying they didn't know what we needed it for.
They do. They have the request. I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding, and we'll, reached out to Jimmy Ladner and
Okay.
tried to
All right.
explain it all to him. Hopefully, he hadn't responded back to me yet, but we'll make sure we get it cleared up.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have. So total drainage projects is at 16.6 million. Again, that's just your recap. I will say that the city administration is working with NRCS to identify other opportunities, the Corps of Engineers to identify other opportunities. So what you see here is what we feel very confident that can get implemented pretty quickly. There are still other funding sources and other opportunities that the administration's working on. And I'm going to turn it to Andrew just to talk briefly about some of the projects identified in the Watershed A. So there were 13 projects, I think. 4 of them were capital improvement projects that we're going to bid out. The other 9 can either be done by Public Works, which will speed up the process, or could be potentially done by a unit price contractor if the city goes forward with a unit price contractor.
Thank you. As Ben said, this is kind of an overview of what our findings and recommendations from our master drainage plan. We've got capital improvement projects that are, what we have essentially done is brought them to a preliminary design state. They still require some additional engineering, surveying, what have you. This is going to be the first one. So this is Turnberry Drive. Is that the laser?
Yeah, I think so.
So you can see Turnberry Way here, Turnberry Drive, Mahalahooli. So we're looking at culvert here, upsizing, establishing proper grade on that creek, natural creek through there, upgrading pipe size here at the box culverts. We've already done some dredging here and corrected some elevations at the weir. I understand that it's still accumulating sediment. We're real hopeful that once we can get this stabilized and vegetated, that we can really prevent a lot of sedimentation from being deposited into there. Kaliki, this has quite a bit going on. There's some, kind of miscellaneous grading up between these lot lines, rear lot lines, or between side lot lines between these houses. And then we're primarily picking this up at this location, Kaliki Way. Really what occurs is it kind of uses the roadside ditch as the main conveyance. And we've just got a mismatch of pipe sizes and everything else.
So Kaliki, we're taking in, starting at Diamond Head Drive North, and I know Ben and I have walked it many times. So starting at North, then going to Aiki, then Kaliki, and then Amoka, we have street flooding. So this takes in, okay, this is good.
Yes,
is this one that we're bidding?
Yes.
Okay, this is good.
Yes, so basically taking a holistic approach from it so we can convey that storm water from this location all the way through to this crossing here. Calais improvements. This is one of the smaller ones as far as the capital improvements go, but it's really got some problematic areas. Being able to convey that storm water between these houses. Or properties, as well as somebody's roadside. Again, we're kind of, it's a roadside ditch, but it's really part of the kind of primary drainage system. So we're upgrading those pipes and making sure we can take it, from this location all the way out. This is just the overview, the bank stabilization. As you can see, well, I can't see it from there. It's the Kaplahama, all these road names, I can't.
Yeah, it's Appalachia, so that's Montjoy Creek, right? And then it's the major tributaries going into Montjoy Creek. That's your major drainage area, or drainage way, conveyance way for Watershed A.
This
Yes.
is where we've gotten a lot of erosion reports, and just, it needs a lot of attention from maintenance and just being able to access standpoint to be able to keep it up indefinitely. And then we broke out some of these smaller projects into public works projects. As Ben said, we can look at some different options on if we want to go out with the unit price contractor once we have that vehicle in place, or we can work with public works to provide assistance to be able to implement these. This is Comey Drive. This is basically, removing some landscape culverts, providing some ability to capture the stormwater that's running across the road or from, let's say, northeast to southwest, and upgrading some pipes here and there, relaying some things. It's just kind of local systems that we just got to get it off the road, out of the yards, into the natural stream. This does not include the bank stabilization, but this is one of the major creeks that we will be stabilizing ultimately. Applahama.
And maybe we don't need to go through all of them, but we've got 9 of them identified. So these local system networks, right? Do we have driveway culverts that are too small? Do we have landscape culverts that are too small? Do we have ditches that haven't been, that need to be bigger? And all this water will then be transported and conveyed to the major drainage way, Montour Creek, right? And so that ties directly into the stormwater project or the bank stabilization project on Montour Creek. Make sure we have capacity to reduce erosion and to stabilize those side slopes.
Yeah, just a miscellaneous regrading, upgrading pipe, or getting it running in the right direction. We see instances where these pipes are laid backwards, or where smaller or larger pipes run into smaller pipes. So just making sure that it's a cohesive system.
Or the landscape culverts
Landscape
severely
culverts.
undersized.
Yeah, we got to capture it and we got to transport it. This is Alacoca Drive, more of the same. Upgrading pipes, little conveyance system here that we can get it into that natural system. Diamond Head Drive, this is going to be one more kind of on that upper end of our bank stabilization as well. Again, just relaying pipes or having connectivity between these the roadside system or the local system and the natural system. This is one that we still need a little bit of attention here. We weren't real sure what was happening. It's pretty clear that it runs downstream, but there's apparently something on the golf course there where it intersects, and we just got to kind of work through all that. Let's see, this is Diamond Head Drive. So this is one of those ones. This is not technically part of the bank stabilization, but this is a fairly large ditch here that goes into that natural drainage way. You can see a lot of erosion along that, so just correcting erosion, stabilize the banks, get some vegetation established, making sure we've got pipe sizes and adequate capacity. Diamond Head Drive West, just more of the same. Capilama, adding a barrel to this one, doing some bank stabilization, erosion protection. I think that's Crooked Stick. This is another one of those ones that we really need to kind of consider this roadside ditch as part of that natural system and have it adequately sized. Wanted to kind of touch on this as well. This is kind of our overview of just looking at these subdivisions. So, what we ultimately end up with after these subdivisions are constructed, we've got a kind of an interim phase of, after the road and utilities are in, but prior to the obstructions, the houses, the driveways, what have you. And so that's, pretty straightforward to be able to kind of allow it to follow its own path, right, before those obstructions are in place. And then once those houses start getting in the way, it really kind of changes the dynamics out there. You really end up with a whole lot of concentrated flows, particularly along these lot lines, side lot lines that are headed towards the road. So we always are cognizant of that as we're kind of looking through these things. And of course, we're not infallible, of course, so we do our best to catch these things on the front end, but we continue to monitor them after construction is complete. We want to make sure that it's performing as it's intended. So when we see some issues, we bring those up. And this is I just wanted to kind of point this out. This is one of the no particular site, but just looking at a side by side here. So here we've got one that was submitted to us. Okay, here's a particular lot. You can see it's pretty reasonable backyard. I think we got a reasonable gradient along the rear lot line, falling about 5 feet or so, 4 or 5 feet, versus what we had actually constructed. And you can see that it's quite a bit different. Okay, so when we, these things can change. I mean, we run into it ourselves on our projects that we design. You get into field conditions and you make adjustments, but you got to coordinate that and work through that. So
is that 1 foot contour shown on both?
No, that's a 1 foot contour there. These are half foot contours. So we're looking at about 53.5 to 42.5 versus 54 to 48. So quite a bit of difference.
And then that's what I just, in case people don't know what the contours are, try to help them see the difference in
Yeah,
the
that's
two.
changing elevation. It's just
Right.
going from the high point to the low point there. But yeah, it's, you know, yeah, I mean, like you say, you can see it's a drastic difference. And that's really it. That's all we have. Any questions?
Take questions.
That was a lot of information. The city is working extremely hard on drainage projects, and we've been working on them for a while now. It's finally like everything has come into alignment now. The funding is finally here. I mean, we've had the wish list, the funding's here. It's time to get moving seriously.
We're ready.
And is there a congratulations in order? For Mr. Ben Benvenuti? Did I see that you won a One Coast Award today?
I did.
Okay. Would you like to say a little bit about that? Because that's an honor.
No, I'm just very humbled.
You're
be
just very
recognized.
humble. Okay. Well,
He
congratulations.
got the top 40 under 40. So.
Yes. Woo. We say it's a small town, but it's a small coast. We know what everybody's doing from one end to the other. Well, congratulations, and thank you all for the update.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hey,
And,
one of
and
the
one
points
more
that
up-
you made in the beginning about hiring a city engineer, I think that was a big factor in the way things are going right now. And you guys are doing a great job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
I've got one thing. You mentioned unit price contractors a couple of times. Can you just talk just for a minute about how that would work and how, like, you think that would benefit us and save money and?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So a lot of other cities along the coast utilize this contract vehicle. Essentially, we would help the city come up with standard drawings, standard specs, and utilizing other cities along the coast. So we're not reinventing the wheel. And then you would bid that out every year on annual contracts. And multiple contractors can bid it, and it's a per linear foot of pipe. And you've got pipe sizes for RCP ranging, the whole spectrum. It's riprap, multiple different sizes of riprap. It basically gives you a shopping list. And that way, if Ty and his group is working on a project and something else comes up that we don't want to wait 2 weeks or even 2 days, we can activate that unit price contractor. And so we can then give him a work order. Sometimes depending on the size of the project, I mean, if it's just installing a culvert across, then Andrew or myself can go meet with Ty and meet with the contractor, and we give them grades in the field to go lay it. So it can save you cost, it can save you time, can make us a lot more efficient on utilizing some of these funds.
So for instance, if we'd had something like that in place with McKeekee, would we be where we are now?
Oh, we would still be where we are today, but we wouldn't have bid out. More than likely, we wouldn't have bid out, we would have been able to take quicker action, because we can stipulate that they have to get started within 48 hours, and we can have a workshop and talk about how what time constraints we put on those contractors, but it gives you all flexibility and the administration flexibility to implement projects a lot quicker. It gives you the backing of a construction company to support your public works.
I think that's exciting. Thank you.
It is. We need to work on, too, something that we don't have is a set of standard drawings. We do not have any, which is really unusual. We are a new city, so we're a new city. Okay. So having a set of standard drawings, so what does this mean? We've got a typical RCP drainage pipe installation. We've got typical typical street pavement cross-section, typical standard drawings for everything that we need. That way we can hand them out when contractors, engineering firms, how many times do you go, I've done this 1,000,000 in my life, you go to the city of Biloxi, they hand you a CD, you've got all their details, and this is what you're going to use, and this is what the city expects. And I know you've got a list to work on, but that's something we really need to work on. We need to be able to so all the firms we're all on the same page. You don't go through 5 sets of construction plans by 5 different engineering firms and see 5 different sets of details. They need to be standardized. when you,
Or you guys could just do all of it.
or you could just get the standard drawings and we could spread it out, because there's no way to do all of it, but we need to work on that.
Yeah, I agree. And for any roadway or drainage, and then utilizing Diamond Head Water and Sewer Districts, right? Because if we encounter water or sewer in our project, we want to make sure that we bid their standards as well.
And they have a whole catalog of standards. So all of us working together and reaching out to the fire department, you know, what are some things they want to see? Having that collectively will go a long way. All right, great things. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
We've got a clappy bunch in here tonight. Okay, any questions for the city manager to my left?
Yes. John, I just have one comment or question on the Bayou Drive kayak launch.
Yes.
They were ahead of schedule.
Yes.
The contract ended June 12th. They were almost near completion 2 weeks before that. Why is it now past completion date when they were doing so good? I mean, it's like, it's okay if there was major things, but we're talking about little bitty things, and it's been over 2 weeks with
Right.
not even
I agree.
attempting them, I guess.
I agree. My only assumption is, because I did not hear back from the engineer, is that they probably are on another project.
I mean,
and
and the
just
gates are still
just don't have
locked.
time to get over here and get that taken care of. Because you're correct. It is some. It's like three minor things.
And they
but-
could have been done 2
Sure.
weekends ago.
Sure.
And all the people that just couldn't enjoy going down there and just walking along the trails along there.
Right.
Because it's locked. Anyway, I
Okay.
just want
Understand.
you to be aware that,
Completely agree
you
with
know, I was praising them how quickly they were doing it up until about April 3rd, and then all of a sudden, they said, okay, we got the praise, we don't have to keep going, you know, for the getting rid of the screws or whatever that were left behind. That's all. I had a vent.
Okay, any more comments to my left?
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Any to my right?
I do. We were
Okay.
talking about McKeekee, the water line. I guess we're gonna discuss that more later, but have we, is this something that we're gonna bid out, or have we ever, like, tried to talk to the water department, see if they might be interested in doing that work for us, and we could pay them to do it, and keep the money in Diamond Head?
No, and I know this came out late, but what we've done over the last couple of weeks, Water Sewer did approach us and say, look, this is a concern. We've, you know, and you'll recall, they came in and helped out
Yeah, I remember
greatly
doing that.
when the contractor ran into a problem on it. But that water line has been capped at both ends. And so they came in and said, you know, look, any help you guys can provide, we need that done quickly. So, you know, we talked with Ben, we've got, John went out and actually got 3 bids, and the lowest came in at 22,000. So, you know, pursuant to bid laws, you know, it's now 75,000. We're under that threshold. So we could John could have just awarded it and gotten it done, but because we just got them in and we are meeting in the council's meeting, it's always better, again, get some approval. Again, this is really an emergency. Because of the request, not just the water line, but the dangerous conditions out there and the debris and the erosion. So that's why we're asking you all to just authorize him to go ahead and award that low quote for $22,000, and let's get this started. So Water Sewer, they made the initial request to us. John immediately responded to him and said, you know, we've met with the engineer, we looked at it, we said, yeah, let's get this thing quoted out. So that's how we got here today.
I guess my point I was trying to get at is on the smaller jobs, I know some of the things, they're very capable. These guys are great at what they do. So, but if it's the bigger stuff, I know they can't.
Yeah,
It's too big.
and I think we even got some of the quotes from some of the folks Water and Sewer uses as well. So I mean, we went to folks we knew were capable of getting out there quickly and getting it done. So that's kind of how we got where we got. So yeah.
Okay, any other questions to my right?
Not really a question, well, I guess it's a question. Someone has reached out about wild pigs crossing the interstate from the south side, and I think are we under contract with somebody? Can we ask them to check and see if they are continuing maybe to migrate?
Certainly.
More west?
We will. We can do that.
Okay. I am not positive. I want to say closer toward East Rec, that end.
Okay.
So maybe if we could look into that.
Okay. We can.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions to my right? Where are we with the SIP grant?
Let's see. I reached out, and I guess I'll give you my cliff notes of it. That they're going to do they'll have to do a year-long study would be conducted on that project to dredge out Montjoy Creek and Rotten Bayou. They'll have to do a study initiation report. It's a 50-50 cost share on the study, and then a 65-35 cost share on the construction project itself. So it's going to be something that we're going to have to look at for funding first before we move forward. But I'm going to meet with him. He's trying to set it up maybe sometime next week to meet and go out and take a look at the site again just to make sure of everything that they're looking for. And then we'll get started on this.
Who is it that you're working with?
Bailey Crane.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, because this is something very vital with us working on drainage. You know, we've got the Lily Pond fixed, and now we've got water that's going to be coming out.
Certainly.
And we've got Basin A.
Right.
We've got the largest basin, the hydraulic analysis, and that all drains to Rotten Bayou, and it needs attention.
Again, that's unfortunately the big thing is we got to look at funding and how we're going to come up with a 50% part and the 35% part. So we'll have to work on that to get that taken care of.
Okay. Now moving on to our public comments, and I am going to start with Mr. Darrell Pelican, Drainage.
As you know, I've been having a drainage issue at my house since September of 2001. Not getting any better. Ben came out the other day, Thursday, I think it was, or Thursday. But before we had the heavy rain. He said he got bad eyes, he couldn't see the spots. Showed him my phone. He didn't believe the spots. He's got bad eyes. Got terrible bad eyes. So we're right back where we started from. Chuck never came out. Nobody came out. Nobody came out to take a look at what we got going on. The grass is growing all the time. You can't cut the grass when he puts a mound up like this. You can't cut the grass. Now, common sense ought to tell somebody something. I got some public works records over here. I got 2 different plans. Plan gave David Mallon when he first started with a survey on it. Shows the drains going out to the catch basin, out the back. That's where it's supposed to go. Then I got another plan from Machado and Pachano. Shows a berm. That'll work. But the berm like it's supposed to be. There's no berm going over there. It goes down and up. When it goes down, it's right where my property starts. I never had no drainage problem when they had a wooded lot over there. They cleared the wooded lot out. It was 3 foot below sea level. So they brought in fill. Guy kept bringing in fill. How many loads of fill are you going to put in the lot? Well, you're going to call for 40 loads. 40 loads, 10 loads. Yeah. The foam wasn't even put on, the foam was not put up on the lot. And it's going up, up, up. Well, the city's going to take care of me, I know. Shit. They took care of me, all right. The other night we had a heavy rain. Ben should have came out there. He left 2 hours before. So I called him. I started to call him, but how you going to tell with the drainage? Well, how can you tell the water's coming up on the concrete? It's dark. My neighbor across from me, and we out there with a camera. It definitely came up. Come up across it. Now, you know, it's a shame you got to do something. Or we got to do something. So I have to get an attorney? I'm asking you. Nobody gonna say anything.
And I'm going to
Mr.
direct
Pellegrin,
over here to the city
Ty
manager.
has ordered the inlet and the pipe that is required from the Machado-Patano plan, and as soon as that comes in, he is going to go out there and install that according to the plan.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
All right, definitely yes. When's it gonna be installed?
I do know that. As soon as it comes in, I can promise you that.
So the city manager's talking about the drain inlet and the drain pipe that's closest to, Hannah
one
Lee
that's
Place and the front.
It's exactly as it's
shown
as
on the
according to
plans.
Machado Patano's stamped plan, and that is exactly what will be installed.
Why
Okay,
wasn't it installed before? Well, we don't have to go that way. Mr. Manager?
Thank you.
okay, so the update is the pipe has been ordered, the box has been ordered, and Ty is going to come install it according to David Machado Patano's plans.
If he, all right,
Which should fix,
the berm is, he temporarily put up, it's soggy, you walk on it sinks. What's he gonna do with that?
The berm will be put just as it is on the plans.
All right, good.
all right. Well, we should know something
Soon,
soon. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Durrell.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Miss Barbara Gibbons and her beautiful Wolfstock shirt.
Well, we had to reschedule the dog park day for this Saturday because of the weather, and we're looking for your support in giving us the additional funding we need to build. I know there's some concern about where the dog park is located at Twin Lakes, and been here 30 years. The whole Twin Lakes is the drainage off the golf course, and we've been draining off golf course chemicals for 30 or 40 years, and it seems to be a place to put the dog park where that drainage is already going. And when we had the temporary dog park, we had members of our committee taking care of making sure that all of the poop was picked up every day. We can't control the urine and so forth, but all the poop was picked up every day. And actually, people were pretty good about taking care of themselves, but we did have members go in there and check regularly, and if someone was careless. And we did have non-committee members speak to people who weren't careful about cleaning up after themselves, as we did the same thing. So we think it's really the only place to put it. Other locations are looked at. I know Maui Circle was one of the places, but that's in the middle of a group of houses. There's not really any parking there, and people use that informally. And again, like a lot of the amenities at Diamond Head, they're on the outer circles. So you are not annoying too many people with your amenity, whether it's East Rec with tennis and baseball and the rest of the stuff. So I think it's really the best location for us to have the dog park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Barbara Easler.
Well, I think Barbara Gibbons just about said everything I was going to say. I just wanted to let you know that we we put in the temporary dog park, and that I would go up there 2 or 3 times a week to make sure that the mess was cleaned up off the ground, and that the grass was cut, and if it needed cutting, I let Nancy know, and she let her maintenance people know that I don't feel like we're going to have a problem as far as keeping the dog park clean, because the whole steering committee is committed to making sure that it stays clean. There's not going to be any big runoff into Twin Lakes. Nobody goes swimming in Twin Lakes anyways, but that's beside the point. But I just wanted to ask that you please give us the money for the dog park. We're so ready for it. I know you are too. You're tired of us talking about it, right?
I want to give a shout out to Barbara. Well, to the whole steering committee, to everybody sitting here, right here in this. But Barbara emptied the poop station every week for 1 year with a temporary dog park. When she went out of town, another member would pick up. But I mean, this resident went above and beyond. So thank you. Thank you all for what all you've done. I know you're passionate, and it is on the agenda. So we'll see tonight how it goes. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. Now moving to the agenda. A motion to approve the April 4th, 2023 regularly scheduled meeting minutes. Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second? Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. I move to adopt Resolution 2023-018, thereby appointing Sue Lael to serve on the Planning and Zoning to serve as Planning and Zoning Commissioner effective immediately for a 3-year term expiring March 2026. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion? City Clerk.
Councilmember Finley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lacy,
Yes.
Councilmember Cumberland,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Moore,
Yes.
Mayor Duffy.
Yes. Could I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 3 through 16?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor? Aye. Could I get, and I'm gonna move these around a little bit because I know the last are gonna take quite a while. So moving to motion 21, which is 2023-210. Motion to award the low quote received from Pine Belt Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram for the purchase of 2 new police pursuit vehicles in the amount of $34,717 each for a total purchase of $69,434. Can I get a motion? Motion made by Councilman Clark. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I'm going to move to authorize the city manager to advertise to bid the Twin Lakes Fishing Pier and Walking Trail as per completed construction plans dated August 2022 with entry building as a bid alternate number 1. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right?
I just have some questions.
Okay.
So this is the dog park?
Right, and the Twin Lakes Fishing Pier.
Okay. So are you asking for the money in this motion?
This will be an additional $25,000 from the city, and $75,000 in Tideland funds will have to be reallocated.
Okay.
And this will do everything that is on the plans dated August 2022.
Okay, on those plans, were those the ones that had the AstroTurf? and the
No
berms?
AstroTurf.
Okay, and I know y'all are aware of the environmental issues that have kind of been brought to our attention, and I know y'all are so good about cleaning it and picking it up, but you might not always be here. And there may come a day when, years from now, it's not being attended to in this manner, and I'm concerned about the waste runoff. The original plans that Orion approved had AstroTurf that was specially formulated for dog parks to kind of treat the waste, and then there were berms to keep it from running off into the water, because apparently I learned more about this than I ever thought I would know, but there needs to be like a 200-foot buffer with vegetation, but that's what's recommended between a dog park and water. And it does run off into the Rotten Bayou watershed, and I know the golf course has been there for years. I talked to the POA and asked them, you know, what are y'all doing about the chemicals? And they said, well, we are aware of it. They have taken steps over the last few years to treat everything much more so than they used to. They're aware that it affects that whole ecosystem. And so my concern is just that we're putting a fishing pier next to an area where we're basically potentially contaminating the water. Not against the dog park at all. I just want us to take steps to make sure that there's not runoff. And the original plans called for that, and I assume they were taken out because of budget concerns. So I just want to know, is it possible to put them back in? Like, what can we do to help the...
Orion Planning did not design the AstroTurf. That was the mayor wanting the AstroTurf because
well,
it looked...
that's what they
That's
would
what,
fall for it. Yeah.
that's what I thought would set us apart from the rest of the parks.
Mhm.
But we have some members sitting here that we brought in. So we didn't just say, we're not doing the AstroTurf. You know, we brought in Mississippi State. Remember when we brought in the Mississippi State professionals to come in to talk to us about the difference between the AstroTurf and the
they
regular
weren't worried
grass?
about runoff
No,
into the
they
water.
weren't. They weren't worried about the runoff. But they did, you know, there were the pros and cons. So we went through a whole class on the pros and cons of AstroTurf and regular sod. You know, and we have some members, I'm looking at one right now, that was totally against the AstroTurf because they didn't want the dogs going on grass that wasn't real. The cost on the AstroTurf, don't quote me, but it was about $250,000. And that's why there's no dog park that has it on the coast
So
except.
Are the berms still there to help with the runoff in the current plan? And I haven't seen the plan from 22. I'm just
There
asking
is,
'cause
there's
I was-
concrete, that is a very good point, and yes, there's concrete all under the fence, but it's mainly because the dogs don't get out or
Right.
dig out, so there's concrete under, around, an apron around the fence, so that would catch the dog poop that Barbara would eventually go scoop up. And we have a very, Diamond Head's dog users are very,
Oh, I have no doubt.
they are wonderful folks.
No, I know, and you know, people will come use it from out of town, and I know that, and I hope y'all.
mess on the golf
I clean up more on my street than I did at the dog.
mess up at the swimming pool?
Well, they do, but it's not next to water. That's the pro-
to a swimming pool, it's
No, No, but I think you know that I mean, we're encouraging an area for dogs specifically, multiple dogs, and if they use the bathroom,
That's ridiculous.
Well, let's all have our comments. So if you want to speak, we got to get up and talk. So
Excuse me,
any
Mayor,
other?
Point of order, Mayor.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what?
Should we all get an opportunity to speak?
Oh, definitely. So anything else? Councilman Lisi?
No, I just don't think it's inappropriate from us to ask these questions. I mean, you know, we just need to do what we can to protect, to accomplish your goal, which
Mm-hmm.
we're not against, and then protect the water, that's all.
We looked at hundreds of lots, it seemed like. We went all over down
6
there
months.
looking for lots. And they were all either wet all the time, or they wouldn't sell them to us, or we just couldn't find any place else. We would love to have one on Noma Drive. That was away from everybody, but we couldn't get it.
Couldn't get it from, who was it, POAs? Was it POAs?
Mm-hmm. Do we want to get a member of the dog park committee up to answer the questions? Who wants to volunteer? All right, because we don't like the going back and forth and people yelling from the
Yes.
audience, because
Yes.
we don't do that. Okay. So Councilwoman Lisa, you have any
No,
other questions?
I mean, I think you're aware of our concerns.
Yes.
And we're not trying to be unreasonable, we just want to make sure that we're, you know, doing the right thing.
Or maybe could you look at all the plans in a meeting when you're all together? Because we don't have the plans in front of us. The plans are quite extensive.
Sure.
And you could go over those.
Yeah, absolutely, in which case,
There's concrete under the fence, I can tell you.
Let me ask a question, because it seemed to me in the Groton Bayou watershed plan that there was a suggestion that vegetation could act as a buffer. Instead of like, you know, a berm or distance, the more vegetation, and they said grass and cut grass wouldn't do, it would have to be a thing, but is there any talk about putting any kind of like vegetation around the park, around the gates, around
Well,
fences?
I taught 7th grade reading, so engineering is not my thing, but I know
There
the
is-
plans. The plans are quite extensive, and Nancy, we went over them, and it's page after page with notations.
And there is plans for landscaping
and-
that would cover that runoff. And we could even do some very pretty seagrasses so that we know the drainage coming off and make it look very pretty.
I like your suggestion about looking at the plans, I would feel better if we tabled this till the next meeting, just to give us time to really look.
Yes.
We already have a motion and a second, so if it fails, we'll just,
So that's fine, I just want y'all to know that that's where I'm coming from, and, yeah.
Okay.
That's my concern.
all right. Any other discussion tomorrow, right?
Yes, and my questions are going to be for the city manager, not the mayor. John,
Yes, sir.
There's no money value on this. It's a motion to authorize the city manager to advertise for bid, Twin Lakes Fishing Pier and Walking Trail, but there's no money. What are we voting on?
Honestly, I do not know myself. I do have plans dated for August of 22, but I have engineer's estimates that I received back from him after your last request to get the values down to what our grants were. After that, the mayor and the engineer went back and forth, adding more back into it to come up to the 225,000, which is the additional 75 that the Tidelands grant. But I don't actually have plans that account for that. So I will have to go back to the engineer. I'll have to get new plans drawn by him because he has to adjust the walking trail from an 8-foot walking trail, 8-foot wide walking trail to a 6-foot wide walking trail, and then what the grubbing and land fill was going to equal underneath that.
So the plan is to get it under the $225,000?
Yes, the mayor went back to the engineer and added back certain fill, sod, things that.
The mayor didn't go back and add anything, so let me explain what we did.
Yeah.
So you made
Yes,
a
ma'am.
motion to cut out part of the dog park without the dog park steering committee knowing.
No, I didn't make a motion
No.
to do
So to get it down to, it was to the 150,
that. Yes. I made a
which
m-
cut out the parking lot. We had no parking spaces.
No, ma'am. He reduced the parking spaces
He reduced the
down.
parking spaces, and we already had a small amount of parking spaces, so that's something you don't want to eliminate. The whole reason, we don't know why that was even done. So the mayor didn't go back. The mayor just said, why don't we use your original estimate that you had? They are very fine with making the walk. Y'all were okay with making the walk not 8 feet, but 6 feet. These folks have been working on the plans with Orion for 2 years and meeting every Thursday night. Anybody sitting up here can take an hour of their time and come on a Thursday night because they're here every Thursday night. They will be out there all day Friday, all day Saturday. So you can come and learn anytime, you want to. And the city manager's had the plans for a year.
Yeah, since August of 22. Yes, you are
Mhm.
correct.
May I continue?
Mm-hmm.
So, no one, I know how hard it is to volunteer and do things, so you guys are doing a lot of work. And I don't think anyone up here does not want to see you guys get a dog park, or the city get a dog park. That's not what it's about, but when you get up here, you have to really make sure that we're doing things right, legally. We're going to be held accountable for it later. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence. That's why I'm asking John, what is this motion about? I would like to know what legal counsel says. Can we spend all $225,000 of the money that we've been given on a dog park? That's the next question I'd like to have answered.
That's going to be a question for DMR and for the folks that, that give us those title and funds. So,
All the funds that were allocated for the walking trail and fishing pier is part of the 150 plus the 75. This is all part of the fishing pier, the walking trail to enhance the Twin Lakes. The dog park project, totally separate, was 80,000. They have raised almost 40,000. So that's where we are today. That funding was, and we should have said the probable cost, but normally, like tonight, we made a motion to accept the Bayou Drive drainage project. Who's looked at the construction plan sitting here? I asked for the PDF of them because I never approve bidding a project or awarding a contract until I have reviewed the plans. This is something we all need to get more engaged with. You need to see the plans. We just awarded a contract, and nobody up here can say they saw the plans. This is something that we have to work harder at. Because when it bids, it's awarded, the contractor's out there, we can't change it at that point. So okay.
So you're saying that each person up here should be looking at engineers' plans
Yes, I always look at them. I do look at them.
Well, I didn't, you just said you did, and I.
But I
don't
love
doubt you,
looking
but
at 'em.
You're telling each of us that we should be second guessing the engineers.
No, you should be looking, because maybe your constituents wanted something that you didn't know was in there, that you need to let the city manager know, hey, they asked about this.
Well, and that's what's prompted this whole water thing. We had people ask about it, and we would be remiss to just not address it because, you know, we don't think it's important. We just have to check.
Well, John, have they answered your question? Cause I think mine was on the same thing. In the city manager first and in council second, are we legally prepared to bid the Twin Lakes Fishing Pier walking trail project as per completed construction plans dated August 22nd with entry building tonight?
I can say that we are. I cannot say whether what the funding amount is going to be, or the cost, I should say, is going to be. Because like I said, I have plans dated August of 22, but I do not have an engineer's estimate dated August 22.
So, based on this, what's your recommendation?
I would, my recommendation would be to give me the time to go back to the engineer and have him provide me with an updated set of drawings, including the 6-foot walking trail, and then the actual estimated cost.
Oh, and I've got one more question about the money. And I'm obviously, John and I are the newest people on the council, so just to clarify, this council did not take $50,000 away from the dog park project, did it? Or did we? I mean,
I'm not aware of any
okay,
money
'cause I
put
heard-
together
I
or
heard
put
that
forward.
We took $50,000 away from the dog park people, and we did not.
I'm not aware
right?
that the city's put any money, 50,000 towards any budget at this
Okay.
time.
Just wanted to make sure.
Well, I think it would be reasonable to look at the plans, have someone explain the plans to you, and walk the site also, and then figure out what the next step is. I mean, it is a large amenity. The POA has most of the amenities, the pools and the tennis course and the golf course. And this is probably more of a city project than it is a POA project. Because I know a POA member wanted to put it on Maui Circle or over East Rec, and there's so many things over East Rec, you can't fit anything else over East Rec between parking with all the amenities. So I think it is reasonable to go over the plans again, we'll try to answer questions and see where we go from there.
John, has the city obtained any more land since, any more lots since August, or since they've been out?
Since 22, probably one or two, but usually it's just
Lot.
like a single lot inside infill lot. Nothing major like that. This is I want to say 2.5 acres or 2.1 acres. Now, of course, a lot of that's underwater, but still, it's what we purchased.
You do have the probable cost that goes with the plans. He sent both of them, but the cost will be less than that because we will have to remove the fill and the less asphalt from reducing from 8 feet to 6 feet. So the cost that you had from the probable cost from the engineer will be less than $225 because we're reducing the walkway. All right. So we had a motion and a second. So we're going to
sorry, I still
withdraw.
wasn't-
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had,
Mhm.
council, in your opinion, are we ready to, and I just want to be clear, at this point, I'm for the dog park, and if we can vote yes, and we can move forward, as long as we come in under the budget, I didn't know we could do it that way, but if council's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Wow. You gonna put it
So
all
it's
on
up to
me?
you. So it's up to you, Derek.
Pass that buck.
I pass. No, no, look, I would say this. I mean, again, we're going to have a dog park. I mean, that question is, not up for debate. We're going to have a dog park. we've got some cost estimates that have been adjusted based on us getting an additional $75,000. We've adjusted the money that we've gotten from donations, things of that nature. It doesn't match the last drawings that we have. And so if you want, we need the drawings. If we're gonna bid it out, we need drawings that match exactly what we're gonna do. So I'd say that is typically step one. I mean, the mayor's point is, she's not gonna approve anything unless I've seen the drawings, I've got the drawings. We have some older ones that we've changed a little bit. The only other thing I would say is that when we did get the additional 75, one thing DMR requests of us is, hey, let's confirm, what project is this going to? What's the name of the project? What is it going to? Has that project changed at all? Tell us how. We're gonna have to tell DMR, hey, yeah, we've had some tweaks. This is what we're doing. So that would be my only caveat as to the question of has DMR approved or will they, that again is my only caveat there. So I may not be giving you the answer that you want or, a definitive answer. Could you bid it? I mean, yeah. Is this the way we typically do, or do we have the drawings first? Could you tell John, get the drawings, get the cost estimate, match it up, and then let's go forward? Absolutely. I don't think it would take too long. But that would be the way we typically do it. Melissa just whispered to me, you weren't clear. Oh, I know. But, I mean, again, at some point, again, we're going to have a dog park. There's no doubt. But we also have we identified the funding source for that additional? Is it 25,000? Is it 35,000 now? Additional just for the dog park side? Because remember, the Tidelands money can't go specifically
It's for
to
the Twin Lakes
dog
Fishing
parks,
Pier.
dog park related function. And so we've got a separate pile of money there. One thing we have to do is we're going to bid these they are separate projects. We're going to bid them together to get that bang for the buck, so we don't have to pay for
That's right.
mobilization again and all that. But we've got to, and this is going to be on your Jeannie Klein and on your John McCraw on their administrative end, absolutely keeping that money absolutely separate so we don't run into issues on Tidelands and we don't run into issues with the donors. Because remember, the donors, any money they gave to the city has to go to specifically what they asked for.
And
So
we have
that-
a lot of donors.
And we do have a lot of donors.
Lot of
So we have a
donors.
fiduciary duty to them. We can only, so we need that list of what was it for bricks? Was it for the dog house in the front? We can only spend that money on those things. So we need to know what the difference is. And then budget-wise, you need to tell John, okay, we want you to take money from, the capital fund or wherever you take the money from, and that's where we're going to find the difference. But those are questions, and that's what you guys have to answer. None of that's legal.
And I've never seen in 40 years a project take this long or be this complicated. And it's analyzed every meeting and, cut down to 150, then brought back. So of course, residents are frustrated. You do have a cost estimate, John. You have a cost estimate that Machado Botano gave you that goes with the plans for the 2022. You have the cost estimate. The only thing that'll change, it'll be less money because the fill will be less and the walking trail will be 6 feet instead of 8. So we will table it tonight and we will all come back. We were hoping that we could do the groundbreaking on the dog park day Saturday because we did tell the legislators we weren't going to do that. We moved the dog park day to the 15th because we were told that. So let's get it done, let's get it together, and let's get it on the next agenda, and let's get it moving.
Can I ask one more question? John, can you, as city manager, can you reach out to MDEQ and just get them to bless our plans, like when they're done, and say, yep, this looks okay, nothing to worry about here, or you should add a berm, or some landscaping, something. I'm not asking to move the dog park or to revamp the whole thing, but I just want somebody in charge of water to make sure that it's safe, that's all.
And I don't know if DEQ cares about dog poop at a dog park, but try DMR and see.
I can certainly do that.
The appropriate government agency, how about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, what can we tell the residents of Diamond Head when they ask questions, what's going on with the dog park?
We're real close.
We have
Watch
told
your
them we're
conversation,
gonna
we're real
break
close.
ground.
Watch the council.
And they're like, oh, yeah, right. They think it's some political thing going on now, because they've been donating for 3 years and there's no dog park. We don't know what to tell them
And we got
anymore.
new people on the council that didn't know about the dog park. So these are things, so when you have elections and new people come, they've got to get acclimated. We all know we've been meeting every Thursday night for 2 years. And we want you all to come to a meeting. We do.
Yes, we do.
We do. We're fun people. We are.
I think also when we have to make decisions about drainage, there's a lot of things that are high on the priority list of what we have to do here in Diamond Head, and it's a challenge. We're a young city. Yeah, I know you guys have been working hard, and like I said, I think everybody up here supports the idea, but we also have to do it right, and that's the scary part, because we've heard we can't spend this money on a dog park. I think if I heard Derek right just a few minutes ago, we have to split out what has been donated and what we've been gotten in grant money, and it has to be, I mean, we don't want to do it wrong.
Is there any reason why we can't have all that information on one sheet of paper?
It already is, Councilman
I'm saying,
Finley.
you know, on everything that we ask on one sheet of paper, because we're going to table it tonight, right?
So it is on one sheet already. So the way the project's done is the Twin Lake Fishing Pier and Walking
No,
Trail.
I mean, the questions that were asked tonight, that we have funding, here's where it comes from, exactly, and as long as city manager, I trust that the city, the staff and the people are gonna do exactly what they should do, it's gonna be done proper, but I just want it, if they're happy, I'm happy.
Right, and it's already broken out that
I will
way.
prepare that report for you so you can have something.
And isn't
All
it
on
already
one sheet.
broken out that way?
Well, he's saying all the questions that you
Yeah,
guys had tonight.
okay,
I
but
will-
it's
I'll
already
get that on
broken.
the paper.
And then-
So the Tideland funds on the line items for the bid project are already broken out. So the Tideland funds and so here's what you have to think about. Orion Planning worked with us for the layout of the dog park. Working with it, we had a fishing pier and we had a walking trail. Well, if you've been in construction for 40 years, you know you leverage grants. So what can you get a fishing pier with and a walking trail? Well, that's Tideland projects. So we put that with the dog park as one big project. Those are line items that are pulled out on a separate part. It's already done, and then the dog park's on a separate part. Total, already done. And all the items on the donations are already on there.
You know, the Senator Morian earlier was saying that we need to spend the money.
Yes, we do.
And you made a mention of the motion that I made a few months ago, and that was part of the effort that I was making, is that we had this money for the fishing pier. I knew we could pull the trigger on it right then and get it done, so.
That was why you
Since
did it.
you brought up that point,
Okay.
that is what I
Okay.
was trying to do. I knew the dog park even says on the grant, a place, a future amenity for an area for dogs to play, so.
And we do need to spend the money. We're back to 2018 on Tideland funds, so, and we just received another 400,000. The legislators stood there for the Noma Drive boat dredging project, so we gotta start spending it. So can you get this on the next agenda, all the questions answered, so we can advertise to bid?
I will get with the engineer and if he can get me the plans that fast.
So Mayor, as a point of order, a little housekeeping, and to ensure it is on the next agenda, if someone does a motion to table and you all vote on that, it will be automatically, per our ordinance, on the next agenda.
I so move to table it.
Second.
Councilman Finley, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you all for coming tonight. I was going to get you out, and we will see you Friday. Okay, thank you. So now moving along, I'm going to move to discuss ways to improve Article 14, land alterations and disturbances filling. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. So I'm going to start the discussion since I'm here. Since I put it on the agenda. So we've had a few residents concerned with fill being brought in to properties that are built, and I'm talking about single-family developments here, not subdivisions. So to be clear on that. So what is the difference between a subdivision and a single-family home development? A subdivision, the developer hires an engineering firm. They spend thousands of dollars on the set of construction plans. The engineer then brings it to the city, and we spend another $8,000 having an engineer review the construction plans that another engineer already drew and designed. So we've got two engineers' liability insurances there that are validating the plans are going to drain, everything is fine, the road elevation. When you build the subdivision, the engineer, and we've got plenty of them here. We've got plenty of them here. Bo, you okay? Were you okay? I thought your arm looked hurt. Oh, okay. So, and I was looking at Ben. So with that being said, the engineers look at the construction plans, and they do the cut and fill with the roads, and it all works with the lots. So subdivision plans are different than single-family dwellings, and that's the permits that I'm talking about in the filling on single-family homes. And I think a lot of residents have had concern with the amount of fill brought in on home developments. Okay. The city has exceeded many cities along the coast by implementing the fill policy, and I think we all agree. We have gone above and beyond by implementing our fill policy, and a lot of cities don't even have this. We are working on the community rating system, the CRS program, that rewards participating communities that go beyond the minimum floodplain management requirements. Communities can earn credits for mitigation and outreach activities that result in a safer, more resilient community, and they receive discounts up to 45% on flood insurance premiums for property owners. So we're working on the CRS. Biggest concerns that I've heard from residents is for single-family home developments is the finished floor elevations, lots being cleared, filled, and then never built on, lots being completely clear, cut of all trees and vegetation, and best stormwater management practices implemented. So Article 14 of the Land Alteration and Disturbances Filling Permit. Excessive filling of land may cause detrimental drainage impacts, elevated grades that are out of scale with surrounding buildings and environment, soil erosion, and other negative community impacts. To migrate these negative impacts and ensure proper stormwater management, no fill will be placed in any parcel of land for the purpose of raising its elevation without submitting an application and obtaining a fill permit. So these are the steps that we require our residents to do. The fill permit application demonstrates the following: the least amount of fill of the proposed to achieve the purposes of the operation. Fill should not encroach into any designated drainage easement adjacent to side and rear lot lines. Fill should not encroach in any designated side or rear setbacks. And fill should not cause negative impact on surrounding properties. The application to fill land. On the application, certain things are shown. The plot plan drawn to scale showing the following: existing site topography, elevations, and drainage flow. Proposed site topography, elevation, and drain flow. Volume, type, and area proposed fill. Distances from surrounding property lines and buildings, and statement expressing the purpose of proposed fill. Additional related information as requested by the zoning administrator or the building official. So looking at the things, and I'm going to make some suggestions, and they're merely suggestions, looking at the things that we're asking on the plans, writing out, looking at different areas that are filled, some things that we could add to the plot plans, and these are just suggestions. We requested that, well, it is required that no fill be in the building setbacks. So building setbacks, no fill is allowed in rear and side yard building setbacks, so maybe the setbacks need to be shown on the plot plan. Drainage easement, no fill is allowed in drainage easements, so maybe the easements need to be required on the plot plan. Wetlands, verification that property has been reviewed for wetlands, if any were found, And if any were found, then they need to be clearly shown on the plot plan. Existing drainage ditches should be located on the plot plan with inverts. And the reason for this is if we have a lot with an existing drainage ditch going through it, maybe that's one we can't fill and we need to not build on. Flood zone classification may need to be shown on the plot plans. Certain flood zones prohibit fill and others require the finished floor to be above the flood zone. Lot cross-section. In addition to the plot plan, a typical cross-section clearly showing the side slopes from the proposed fill area, percentage of the side slopes, and elevation to existing tie-in grade. Cross-sections speak volumes more than plans do. Number 6, no fill should be placed around, and these are just suggestions, no fill placed around protected trees, and protected trees need to be shown on the plot plan. Number 7, a drainage plan. Plot plan may include post and pre-drainage plans to ensure positive drainage from the property to the nearest discharge drainage ditch, structure, or outfall. Drainage plans may need to be stamped by an engineer. And most importantly, number 8, finished floor elevation, established and stamped by an engineer. Plot plan may include adjoining property owners' finished floor elevations and adjacent elevation of the center line of the street. And these are just my suggestions looking at it. So I looked at it as though I was going to draw it and design it, and what would I need to be able to say, well, this fill is not going to work. So looking at adding these are just a thought, but having the finished floor elevations of the property owners adjacent to it, so we know the neighbor on the left is 24, the neighbors on the right is 25, then the fill on the one between should be 24.5. We would think it'd be in the middle. That sounds logical. So having it shown on the plot plans, adding all this information could help tremendously, and it's just a suggestion.
I'll speak for myself only. I think many of those, if not all, are excellent suggestions, and they're things that we should get to Bob Barber as he's doing our ordinance upgrades and make these suggestions to him, have him take a look, have our engineers take a look, and have our building officials take a look. And to me, they sound like they would not be that unreasonable, and they would do, you know, again, we need to assure residents, neighbors, as people are building, that if we show them the numbers won't lie, and say, look, here's what we're doing to make, additionally, to make sure you're protected. As you pointed out, Mayor, that fill policy is something that not a lot of other cities have. This would be just another step, another tool to beef it up a little bit. So I think some of those are excellent suggestions, and I suggest we kind of send them to Bob like we've done with the architectural review, and we've done with, Mayor, you had another one we've already sent to Bob. He's probably going to kill us because we're going to say, we keep sending Bob things, and then we say, hey, when are you going to be done? But we keep sending it, and I'll say this as well. These are going to come through P&Z. They're going to get some great public comments. We've had engineers at times that are not city engineers that have also commented on things we've done with great comments. Duke Levy's one and some others. And so have it go through that process, but I think they sound.
And C says additional related information as may be requested by the building official. So these are things that Ron could add if he thought they would help in the fill. And I like the idea of our engineer setting the finished floor elevation, and that removes it off the city, and we know that.
I'm just looking back and saying, hey, no, I think they're great suggestions. I mean, the more information we have allows us to make better informed decisions.
That's right, and it's.
The only issue that maybe be getting the right of entry to get the finished floor elevation on the neighbor's houses. But I mean, those get estimated all the time based on.
Yes, they do.
Well, can I add, because I think you're taking kind of a lot of the ideas that I've been debating over the last week, and I like them also. And I think another thing that would help our residents is if, when a builder's going to be building, the city should send out a written mailed notice to anybody as a property that's adjacent to that, saying this is what's going to be built here, and this is where the drainage is gonna go. Is it gonna go to the rear ditch, the front ditch? Is it gonna be to a side ditch someplace else? So that they're aware that there might be something adjoining them that's going to be dug deeper than it normally was pre-existing, in order so that the water doesn't go onto their property and it could go away. But I do think, and there's in Article 24, it has stormwater permits, and that 0 to 10,000 square feet don't currently require an engineer's stamp for SWPPP to be building if it's under 10,000. I think that should be changed, that everything should have an engineer's stamp and say, look, what are you going to do with the drainage? Are you going to drain it to the front ditch, the back, because 90% of them are gonna be the front ditch or the back ditch. There might be a few that are the side ditches, but, and where's it gonna do? And show your neighbors it's gonna be sloping this way away from you or sloping towards you, and we're gonna make that ditch deeper or wider. And Bo had a great suggestion in that, you know, if there are swales that need to be done, let's start making them so that they're in the center, and we're not just doing it on this side of the easement and leaving that easement side out, that we do it dead center in the easement. So I think all of those things should be incorporated to Orion to let them, you know, play with. And then 90% of my 21, whatever it is, on the agenda could be left out, and you know, you guys can still talk about the procedures you go through, but I won't have to interject. Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, and so number 7, the property nearest discharge ditch, this would take it a step above. So like Bo's saying, now we make sure that and this is what the owner has to do, he has to make sure the water is draining off his property. This will pick it up and make sure that it's going to a discharge ditch, and if there's one not there, then they need to put it in. They need to get it to the nearest discharge ditch. We can't just let it stay there. So, any other comments, left? Right?
I like the part that you had in there about the lots being cleared and just left there with fill.
Yes.
I'd really like to see that addressed. We're finding that all over Diamond Head, and that cannot be good for drainage.
Very good suggestion.
So,
Okay, so I'm gonna mail you these, Ron, because you know I love talking to you. And let me tell you, there's somebody that knows the codes in the city like I've never seen, and that's Ron. And I'm gonna say Bo is right there behind him, but Ron can read off anything at any point. He can read the codes off to you in a second. So these are just things, and this is trying to help the residents because we need to look at the fill. Even though we're very unique, and Diamond Head is above many other cities on the coast to have the fill ordinance, we need to do better.
Yeah, and when I met with Gerard, and he had his suggestions, I said, I may agree or disagree with the suggestions. I said, well, the engineers may agree or disagree, Bob with Orion. But this is, you guys are used to me telling you, well, that's not in your purview, this isn't what you do. This is one thing you do, is make sure the ordinances are as good as they possibly can be. So this is exactly the job and what you're supposed to be doing. So I recommend we send those suggestions through Ron, through Ben, get them to Orion, and have John just add it to our list of things Orion's working on.
Or we can send it to Ron and Ben, and it's under Ron's discretion. If he sees some of these, I would love to see the finished floors of the adjacent property owners on the plot plans now.
Yeah.
These are serious things. Okay. Any other discussion on fill policy? All right. Moving right.
It all boils down to just them getting more help too.
It does. So if we need to hire somebody, let's do it.
Yeah. Putting a lot on y'all.
And this really takes a lot off because we're putting it on an engineer, because we're requiring an engineer, which we should be doing. You know, residents, you know, we've got a new home coming in and somebody wants to move to Diamond Head, or a developer may want to develop. Well, we need to make sure that everything's done before we allow the permit to be issued, and especially if there's a drainage ditch. So this would eliminate the lots that probably shouldn't be built on. Okay, moving right along. Motion 2023-2021, motion to discuss ways to improve, 2023-2020, motion for discussion on ways to improve Article 11, tree ordinance. I move, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lacey. And I figured Councilwoman Lacey would be with me on this one.
Delighted. that it did
Okay.
this.
So, looking at the tree ordinance, we lead all the cities on the coast with the fill ordinance, and we probably are at the bottom with the tree ordinance. It is the smallest, I know Ron's laughing, but this is true. It's probably the smallest ordinance on the coast. So if you look at all the other tree ordinance along the city, ours is like 1 page. And the rest of it is Derek's legal stuff for 3 pages. So that's one that we need to work on. There's 3 legal, 1 really worried about the trees. So things that are not done, some cities have no clearing prior to a tree permit being obtained. So it's my understanding that the clearing and grubbing is only needing a required permit for 1 acre or greater. Do you have to get a permit to clear and grub? No. Okay, so we need to get a permit to clear and grub. So that may be something that we need to add. Other cities have where no permit, no clearing is done without getting a tree permit, which works in conjunction with the clearing and grubbing that we do not require the permit for. So there's no permit for clearing and grubbing, which makes it difficult for our building officials because they don't know if there was a protected tree on there, not unless you were out there, and sometimes people accidentally do these things on the weekends. So no clearing prior to the tree permit, where the trees that are protected, and this is the way I did work many times, and I know the other engineers sitting here, especially if you worked in Biloxi, you're going to locate those trees on the plan. Before you get out there and start tearing stuff up, it is tied, it is flagged, and we know those are protected trees.
Are you talking about a tree survey? Is it
Yes.
interchangeably?
Or when they're out there doing the boundary survey, they can pick up they're out there, they're clearing, they're doing it. We know they're out there, so they can pick up the protective trees, and then those are marked. And you can't go clear it without having the protected trees located on
And
them.
we only have 2 protected trees right now, is that right? The live oak and the magnolia?
Yes.
And then I was told in my research that we can add other trees to it if we
Mhm.
wanted to.
Absolutely.
To the protected
Absolutely, yeah, we
list.
can. And many, that's a very good point. Many other cities have more trees. So looking at the trees, you know, that could be protected, that could be something added. But I think adding that no lot can be cleared without a tree permit is the first step to protect our trees, and something we need to look at doing. Then other cities have the drip line protected of the trees. We have nothing that mentions this at all. Compaction of soil up against the trees, we have nothing that mentions that. Paving next to a tree, nothing that mentions that. And protection during construction, many cities along the coast has got where you have to have silt fencing under the drip lines, and we don't do that either, and around the protected trees. There were many, many other things because our tree ordinance needs a complete makeover, so I didn't keep listing, but these are the things, so we need to work on the tree ordinance.
And one thing we learned in our study was one thing we can do is beef up the penalty phase. And Anna,
Mhm.
correct me, but I think Oxford's got a rule. If you clear cut a lot, you can't develop that lot for, I wanted to say it was 18 months.
No, they have a 3-year moratorium on the whole entire project, at which time you've got to start over at the beginning.
I mean,
If-
that's,
If you violate your, you've done your tree survey and you
Mhm.
didn't do what you were supposed to do, oh, whoops, they cleared when I wasn't there, and we're so sorry, because right now, we don't have any teeth in our.
We don't.
teeth
And-
So-
definitely help.
And
So-
I did mention to Derek with that, because I thought that was
Mhm.
brilliant, the 3-year moratorium, but I said, you know, we have builders that when Ron puts a stop work order, throw it away and start building again. And I say, anybody that takes away a stop work order ought to have a 6-month moratorium that they can't build because they took away something that told them to stop and they just ignored
I
it.
like that.
You know.
And our penalty, our penalty's like 3 sentences, and it's nothing. So looking at the penalties, a lot of cities I'm gonna say I may have known a contractor that had to buy city 50 trees. You know, either you buy the trees, you replace the trees, but we need something, our whole tree ordinance needs a makeover. And this
Yes.
needs to be done sooner than later, because this needs to be done, and we did do this a while back, but it just didn't turn out the way it should have.
And, exactly, and I think that, you know, it's really important to have some penalties that are not monetary, you know, like an actual fine that they could pay, because if the developer's big enough, they'll just budget it in.
I mean, look, you guys, you know, I'm not gonna name any other cities, but, you know, there was a very popular oak, and at some point, somebody said, well, if I cut it, it's a $500 fine.
Right.
And that's their way of saying, hey, you know, I'll take the punishment. But, so enforcement and the punishment is always an issue with these things.
So where do we go from here, Mayor? Do we work
We
on
need
this?
we need to get with the planning and zoning and get it on there to start working on it. But we need to get, and we tried this before, and I would like to see a committee together to work on the tree ordinance and research all the tree ordinances along the coast, you know, that are native to our area, the garden club members. And let's make it right this time and work hard on it. So,
And also get some arborists in.
exactly, we've
Yeah.
got arborists.
I think
Speaking
I
of
asked for one
that,
to come and speak before us a couple of
We
weeks
have one
ago.
that, we have one that we rely on as a city. If you wanted to streamline this one, you could just, I mean, you guys could send this to P and Z and get them working on it sooner rather than later, but it's just a suggestion, however y'all want to do it. This, I don't believe getting some of these things in here would be that difficult. I mean, first place I would look is Oxford after our meeting with them, I think. I mean,
I'd be glad to get a copy of theirs and for everybody to look at as a jumping off place.
Yeah, didn't
And there-
Oxford also have an ordinance that if you took down a 6-inch tree, you couldn't just put in a sapling, it had to be another
Yes.
tree of equal wraparound, whatever you call it,
Yes,
the
they do.
circumference.
Or putting into putting into city property or putting into a tree pool.
Replace with trees. One city on the coast even has where you can get credits for leaving other trees. So they allow you, you know, maybe off-street parking, you don't have to do as much. You get credits for leaving trees on the property. I like looking at the coast as well, because we've got a lot of cities along the coast, and this is native to our area. We need to make sure the tree ordinance is done right this time. We don't want to have to redo it. So I think getting a group of volunteers together to hit it off and get a plan. Okay. And then maybe then send it to the plant P and Z and let them start with that. Okay, moving right along. Any more discussion on the tree ordinance? All right. 2023, to review procedures. Could I get a motion to review procedures of Diamond Head stormwater drainage regulation on the books for both subdivisions as well as individual lots, to ask the building inspector and city engineer and any other city staff employed in the enforcement of above to give an example of steps they take and practice to verify the regulations, and ask them what suggestions they would make to amend, keep, or add to the regulations already on the books to adequately regulate these regulations so no new building or development will cause change in the flow of water onto any adjacent property except through the ditches or through other methods such as retention or detention ponds, to gather these suggestions and send them to Orion Planning for Orion's review and possible implementation into the city code they are working on, and to see what this council thinks of the requirements and notify all adjacent property owners on all new builds and developments by mail, or of the possibility of depending or adjusting in any way the co-adjoining swales or drainage ditches on city easements in order for the water to better flow. So we want to move on to, I'll move on discussion on this one. Got a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second down there by Councilmember Marr. Okay, do we need to discuss this one further?
I would just like to have like Ron and maybe Bo and them just come up and say what their typical process is going through step one of getting a thing all the way to, like, you know, giving them the go-ahead that it's done. Do you know what I mean, Ron? When we were talking, you were saying, "Oh, this is a harder ordinance than this to enforce." Maybe if it was worded this way, what do you when you encounter doing things with people on a day in day out basis? Would you say, "Gee, my job would be so much easier if they could tweak the wording in this ordinance," or "Gee, my job would be so much easier if they got rid of this ordinance altogether and changed it en masse"? So that's what I'm talking about.
I think I just heard him say, gee, my job would be easier if I just did what the mayor asked on the bill.
And that's
Thank
why
you,
I
Rod.
said, you know, you kind
I
of
heard
like
that.
covered most of the things that I thought they would do.
Yes.
So you don't have to talk if you don't want to.
Oh, my.
Well, thank you. And that, I do like some of the suggestions that, has been brought out. And, let me say that the major premise, the more where that we have, concrete steps. And like, for example, on the drainage plan, you know, if an engineer has to design it in some way, and it says you got to have this swale 3-to-1 or detention, and you got to do it just like this, you know what? It takes all the subjectivity from the inspector regarding what was the intent of the drainage plan. And do you follow what I'm saying? In other words,
I do.
if you have an exact drainage plan, like you go out there and he said, well, and you shoot grades, well, it is or it isn't. And so there's no subjectivity like you just taking and you looking down there and eyeballing it and saying like, oh, it looks pretty good. And so I like that part about having less subjectivity. I do. Okay, but typically in terms of storm water that runoff, we ask for grades. We have a site plan, a sample site plan that we hand out saying like, if you do your site plan just like this, then we'll know how to evaluate your site plan for compliance. And so, and then if we don't have enough information to evaluate, it gets kicked back to the curb and say, you got to provide us these things. And so, yes, we need accurate information in terms of contours, spot grade elevations. What's the elevation of the street? What's your finished floor is going to be? And then we can see where the water's going to run. And I do like the idea on the field about if there's a drainage ditch running through your property, that is shown. That's a very, very good idea. Okay. So when we get that information, we can go out and say, okay, you do it just like this. Okay, well, like for finished floor elevations. Well, when they set the form boards, well, guess what we do when we go out there? We shoot it to see if that finished floor elevation is where it's supposed to be. We do that. And then on out there in the field on drainage swales, we use the instrument to shoot elevations to see which way the water is flowing, left or right. So we are we're doing things to verify. And let me say this, that in part of, 14, that it says that there's a thing about zero increase in sedimentation, and then it says in stormwater rates and volumes. That's at the it's in the first paragraph.
Right.
It's the last sentence in the first paragraph. Oh, okay. And so, right now, these, if you look at it as a whole, these infill lots and individual lots, they are under the radar as when it comes to that. And so that's sort of like a hole in the dam right there. But because up to 10,000 square feet, you're under the radar.
Right.
Okay. But if we literally require stormwater calculations on infill lots or individual lots, now if we require that, then we're taking it to a whole different level. That means an engineer has to be involved in everything and doing stormwater calculations and to show where that if any increased runoff, then that requires you got to have detention on a residential home.
And there's not one new home being built that doesn't have post and pre-difference. That's a fact.
Yes.
And mine is, the only thing I was specifically focusing on is the applications for fill and what needs to be added, not on every single home being built, because some may come to you that doesn't require a fill permit.
And so I like it that if we have concrete specific things, we can require them saying, you gotta provide us this. And then if they provide us halfway junk, I mean, I'm sorry, if they provide just halfway stuff, we can say like, you haven't done these other things. Come back when you have other things. And then all of us can evaluate it better, including our Covington engineers. They do a great job for us in terms of helping us with specific drainage issues. And so with that, Ben and Andrew, they have information to make a good decision. It's already there.
Can I ask you one question that popped up while you were talking? Is there a minimum slope for drainage? In other words, if it's flat, you don't know where it's going to drain. So there's got to be some sort of like, is it 1 in like 30 inches, or what is the slope to make sure that it's going to drain to the proper place?
We don't have that on the books.
Is there any kind of engineering thing, Ben, that would have a minimum slope to make water flow?
Yeah, they do. It looks at different. What's your ground cover, right?
That's right.
Is it grass? Is it
Yes.
dirt? Is it
Concrete.
pavement? I mean, they have different factors depending on your ground cover.
Gotcha.
And I think what Councilman Marr's trying to get at, and this is probably the biggest problem with the fill, or just any lot permit, any single family, we're not talking about subdivisions, because we've got 3 stamps by the time we're finished that we can make sure that it works fine. And there's a reason why engineering's there cost a lot, because you'll have a lot of liability insurance. So with that, subdivisions are covered. It's single family. Is making sure, we looked at one on Friday, making sure that the runoff does get off the lot being built, but then it needs to make sure it's going to an outfall ditch. And if it requires, and let's just say, one we've been hearing about, then the developer needs to dig the ditch to get it where it needs to go, wherever it may be, because we do this all over the coast. We don't want to build the house. The taxpayers didn't want the house. The developer needs to follow the drainage till it gets, number 7, till it gets to the nearest discharge, drainage ditch, structure, or outfall. So they need to follow the water till it gets where it needs to go. If it requires purchasing another lot, well, then that's it. Or, but 99%, they can stay in our easements and get it out, but right now, it's just stopping on the lot, and it's not getting, like the one we saw Friday.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, where's this going?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
One thing I think, from a personal opinion, that when you're talking about, I think we'll say if you're going to have any kind of swell, the minimum swell is going to be this. Well, it's a 3-to-1 slope, have a foot deep, etc. If you're going to put any kind of swell, this is the minimum you're going to have that on the books.
And that is a very good point, which gets to men on a standard drawings, because our typical swale would be a 1-foot bottom, 3-to-1 slopes, and we want this done. That's a very typical, he's got one on his computer at his office. So having these standard drawings, that's exactly what you need.
That is, then whether it's the homeowner, they have a drawing, or whether it's the person on the equipment who's digging it, they can say, okay, you gotta do it just like this, you know. And then guess what? It takes the subjectiveness from me and Bo out there saying like, is this gonna be sufficient? And so if we have saying like, this is the standard drawing, then all we doing is verifying that they have it, you know. Then it makes it simpler for us.
Now, some of these 8 items, you know, some of these are so vital, you know, you can make a decision to have these added to the plot plan. It clearly says you have that authority. Waiting for Orion and waiting a year from now, I'm not going to be satisfied with that, because these are critical things that needs to be on the plot plans now. So I would be happy if you look through this and let us know which ones you could do now, and if there's some you don't think, then those can be sent to Orion. But some of these are just
Understand, yes.
very necessary.
And you're absolutely right, the way it's written, that it gives me the prerogative to add things.
Right.
You know, and so, just to be honest with you, and that I understand the intent about providing information to adjacent property owners about a plan. I understand that intent. Okay, but the reality of it is the administration of it. And so let me just take both sides, okay? Just food for thought. All right, who's going to do that? Will it be the city? The staff has to inform the neighbors, and so then I'm telling you, when we do that, then wherever it is, then we will have numerous people come in, and then with the limited staff we have, then we got to take time to explain to them and answer questions concerning those drainage things. And the reality of it, if we don't have more people, it's just going to bog us down.
And if you follow the simple steps, there's no need to reach out to the and I see why that was brought up, because it's like we don't want the neighbors to say, well, they built this and I didn't know. They're going to see when it starts being cleared. At that point, they can come to you and say, before the first board's put down, and that relieves you of a lot of extra work. But if all the steps are in place on the fill, then we shouldn't have any. We want to get to that point where it's not a concern, but we're happy that somebody's building.
And I do like the idea of having a single drainage swale in the center along the property line, because well, this is developed over here and this is developed over here. And then what you have is, you have the neighbor's well and then you have yours well. And it'd work a whole lot better if it could be a joint. Because that's why we have 5-foot drainage and utility easements on either side of the property line. Because why? Because the neighbor's water and then your water can go within that 10 feet. It's not like my neighbor's water can't get on my property at all, because that's what the drainage easements are for. Because then we have 10 feet for it to run down. But however, sometimes it's going to be difficult when you already have, if it's an infill lot and it's a fence there, and then you got neighbors don't want to cooperate. But anyway, I think we should strive for that.
It's going to be hard on pre-existing homes already.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll be quiet.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, I think you were insightful for us.
Absolutely.
And these are all, this is, when you reach a point where the residents are calling and they're concerned, and we're here for a brief moment in history. All of us are here for a brief moment in history. But what we send forward is going to be here for forever. So every decision we make, and we're just striving to be the best we can be. And it's raising the bar when you have a fill ordinance, but it's raising the bar even more when you add the information on it. That makes it easier for you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, is there any more discussions?
I just had a question. Would it behoove us to have a workshop to kind of address the tree ordinance and address some of these things, kind of like just?
I think a workshop would be
I
good for
I
the
think we
tree
just
ordinance.
had one.
Well,
It was a workshop in a sense. No, that's a good point. I would love to see us get put on here to get a committee together to work on the tree ordinance. I know you're passionate, I'm passionate. We could have another council at the garden club. Residents want to help.
Oh, no, I think that's great. I just want to make sure we have
implement.
the next step ready to go. Just
I can do that. We'll create a committee and get some recommendations to put forth to the planning and zoning.
Okay.
We don't want you to put together a committee, but I thank you for doing that. I know Councilwoman Lisi wants to be on it. I want to be on it. We need to ask the residents. So like the garden club, we got people that are passionate about trees. So
Just one, and again, I'm always that guy. Just if you guys are on a committee and it's a committee that the council's creating, even if there's not 3 of you there, we may be subject to open meeting rules. So just, you may have to have, and it's fine, you just have to notice it, keep minutes, that
Okay.
type of thing. So just be thinking on that.
with just 2 or just,
Yeah, I think,
Because I've been-
some of the things we learned at this last training. I learned more than anybody at that training, and but one of the things, committees that the council sets up could potentially be
well,
subject
that's
to
kind
open
of why I
meeting
was
rules.
thinking if we did a workshop and invited some of the garden club people, it just had. It could be a workshop, which is a public
Like
meeting.
a all
and then-
day thing, like the
it
pledge.
takes
That's fine.
No.
months to work on it. It takes us sitting down, going through. I wish you could do it in one meeting.
Oh no, I didn't mean. I mean, one.
But I mean-
one meeting, but
I think one meeting, 8
I hate
hours.
to think
but-
it's going to take months.
No, it will take, it
planning
really
was.
will. It sounds easy, but it's not.
I don't know, I mean,
And then when you get it and it comes out and it's not the way you wanted it, it's even worse.
Well,
Okay.
we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the really good thing on this. I mean, we know there's some other tree ordinance that may have more teeth than ours. So, I mean, it's not like we have to, a lot of this may not take as much time as you really think, so.
Just
but-
about every tree ordinance has more than ours. But our fill is top of the line. Let's put that out there. Okay. All right. Could I get a motion to approve the docket of claims DKT 230630, DKT 230672 in the amount of $428,631.83? Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to approve department reports A and B? Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor? Aye. No non-agenda item comments. Executive session requirement?
We don't, but Mayor, did we miss the McKeekee emergency motion?
Oh, and that's the one we were most excited about.
We missed
Yeah, but good news is we do not need an executive
So
session.
we do need to add, let's do motion number 21A, and this was added to the action agenda, 2023-212, motion to authorize emergency repairs to the McKeekee Drainage Project for water line erosion control and debris removal pursuant to Mississippi Code 31713J, and further to award the quote for the repairs to the bottom to top construction in the amount of $22,584.60. Motion made by Councilman Clark, second.
Second, I was gonna say.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm so sorry. One thing really quickly. John, can y'all attach a PDF of the PowerPoint to the minutes? Because I don't think it recorded at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes, I already gave Ms. Garber the
Okay,
PowerPoint, so
'cause
she'll have that
I
on
just
the
think there's
minutes.
some people probably who would have watched at home that would want to see
I'll
it.
also put it on our city website.
Okay, perfect.
There's the old one from, I think, 21 still up there.
Okay.
And I'll replace it with this.
No, that's great. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay,
I just wanted to tell the building department and the administration how much we appreciate everything that you guys do. I know you don't get that very often. I see things on social media that I don't agree with, and I don't even know what to say about it sometimes, but you guys do a good job. All of
it's
you.
all over social media every day of our life, but usually it's the mayor did it. If it goes wrong, I did it.
I wasn't gonna say that, but.
It's me. If it goes wrong, I.
Well, I don't mind us getting beat up, but you guys don't
Mhm.
deserve it. I know you work hard, and I think when people that make those comments just don't understand how difficult your job is. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's always people that's going to do it, but usually it's the mayor that gets it. Usually it's the mayor. So the mayor wants us to be the best because the mayor gets it every day. So with that being said, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?